very warm welcome, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. After 2 days of dialogue, we now dine. And this dinner is not just a close, it is fellowship, and it is proof that the strongest partnerships are often sealed not only in boardrooms, but around tables like this. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if conferences were symphonies, he is the composer and conductor. Please welcome for his address the chairman of the Planning Committee, Otumba Bimbola Ashiru, FCIOD.
Thank you very much. I'm not a military man. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The President and Chairman of the Council, Governing Council, Chartered Institute of Directors, Otumba Adetunji Oyebanji, fellow Chartered Institute of Directors. The first Vice President, Mrs. Aino Yabola, FCIOD. The second Vice President, Chartered Institute of Directors, Alaji Lamiz Diko, fellow Chartered Institute of Directors. Distinguished past presidents of the Institute, members of the Governing Council, the chairman for tonight, Lady Ada Chukwu Doze, the chairman, Keystone Bank, the guest speaker, Professor Uche Nwale K, member, President Fiscal and Tax Reforms Committee. You're welcome. Members of the National Organizing Committee for 2025 Annual Directors Conference, the Director General and CEO of Channels of Directors, Dr. Taiwo Nolas Alausa, MITD, fellows of the Chartered Institute of Directors, members of the Chartered Institute of Directors, our headline sponsor, First Bank of Nigeria PLC, our partner sponsor, BUA Group, our esteemed sponsors, our plenary speakers and discussants, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I'm pleased to welcome you all on behalf of the National Committee to this highly anticipated Business Meets Government dinner, a fitting closing to the 2025 Annual Directors Conference of our great institute. Tonight, we gather as leaders from the private and public sectors, united by a shared commitment to the future of our country. This dinner is a critical platform for dialogue, collaboration, progress. The theme of our conference has resonated strongly with the challenges and opportunities facing our nation today. We have discussed innovation, sustainability, governance, and leadership. But now, we must focus on the collective action required to drive meaningful change. Tonight's networking between business leaders, policymakers, is germane in ensuring alignment of goals for a prosperous Nigeria. Our great speaker, well experienced in both private sectors, make him fit and proper for this event. I look forward to your insights, Prof. Tonight's event presents a unique opportunity for direct engagement, a space where ideas, insight, and solutions can be exchanged. Our aim is simple: to reinforce the importance of collaboration and to chart a course forward that benefits all Nigerians, which with public sector favorable policies and regulatory frameworks and the private sector's innovation and execution, we can create lasting values. We have made distinguished leaders in this room, trailblazers who are shaping industries, driving reforms and steering policies. I encourage each of you to seize this opportunity to build bridges and lay groundwork for partnerships that will yield tangible results for the growth and development of our nation. Before I close, on behalf of the 2025 National Organizing Committee, I would like to thank the members of the Governing Council, chaired by the President, Otumba Adetunji Oyebanji, the fellow Chartered of Directors, for the opportunity to serve in this capacity as the chairman of this year's conference. Our special thanks also goes to the chairman of this dinner. Special guests of honor, guest speaker, dignitaries, partners, sponsors, media, and participants for this support. In closing, I will not close these remarks without calling out the members of this committee that made the success story. I've craved the indulgence of the chairman to allow them to come out and stand here in front here, and I will join you as soon as I finish this speech. I wish to remind us that this dinner is not the end of our discussions, but rather the beginning of a renewed commitment to working together. Our nation's economic potential is vast, but unlocking it requires a united effort. I am confident that through collaboration, mutual respect, and shared vision, we will overcome the challenges by God's amen in this country ahead and unlock a brighter future for Nigeria. On that note, I invite members of this year's National Committee to please join me. And I want to thank you for being here tonight, for your unwavering dedication and to the progress of our nation. You should enjoy this evening. Mr. Chairman, sir, I crave your indulgence and I call on you to please join the first Vice President and the second Vice President to please join members of this committee. At least it's good to shake their hands for a job well done. Sleepless nights.
Yes, please. We really need to applaud them. They have done remarkably well. Please, let's applaud them again. The Planning Committee, guardian of our institute, guiding directors with calm and steady purpose, and I must say with wit also, a lot of wit. Please, let's welcome for his address the President of the CIOD Nigeria, Otumba Adetunji Oyebanji, FCIOD. Please, let's appreciate him. And I'm sure we're going to laugh a bit, definitely. I trust my chairman.
Okay, this is police band, Abi. The difference is clear. Okay, Madam MC, I've decided to take a break this evening because people were saying they didn't know my second job is that of a comedian. So let me rest that one this evening. Our special guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, CON, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Didi Esther Watson-Jack, OON. There I go again. Following protocol, I almost said the President and Chairman of Council. The first Vice President, Chartered Institute of Directors, Mrs. Amina Oyagbola, FCIOD. The second Vice President, Alhaji Lamis Diko, FCIOD. Distinguished past presidents of the Institute, members of the Governing Council, our dear and cherished Chairman, Lady Ada Chukwudozie, Chairman, Keystone Bank, and my able colleague in the oil industry, the Chairman of the National Organizing Committee for the 2025 Annual Directors Conference, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, MCIOD, our guest speaker, Professor Uche Joe Uwaleke, who I have just discovered this evening is a professor of the capital markets. I wanted to ask him how many shares he owns. Members of the National Organizing Committee, who have again, I repeat, done a wonderful and excellent job. Thank you. The Director General CEO of the Institute, Dr. Taiwo Nolas Alausa, MITD, fellows of the Chartered Institute of Directors, members of the Institute, our headline sponsor, First Bank of Nigeria, PLC. Again, I want to thank them. I had the opportunity of flying with him about 4 weeks ago, and I reminded him about our request. And he said, once he saw Chartered Institute of Directors, he didn't waste any time before approving it. So again, I say a big thank you. Our partner sponsor, Boa Group, our esteemed sponsors, our plenary speakers and discussants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 2025 Business Meets Government Dinner, an important platform for engagement between the public and private sectors, organized as part of our annual Directors' Conference activities. We are indeed elated to have representatives of various senior government officials. Your attendance has further deepened our long-standing relationship by partnering in the economic development of Nigeria. In the same vein, I heartily welcome the chairman of this event, Lady Ada Chukwudozie, OON, Chairman, Keystone Bank, and our guest speaker, Professor Uche Joe Uwaleke, financial economist and professor of capital markets. Your presence has no doubt added more luster to this occasion. We are delighted to have you grace this occasion and to share your thoughts. This dinner reflects our shared commitment to fostering constructive dialogue, building trust, and strengthening collaboration between business and government, two vital pillars for the growth of sustainable enterprises in our nation. Distinguished guests, we gather tonight at a time when both global and domestic business environments are under significant strain. The world continues to experience the ripple effects of prolonged geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions, high energy costs, and stubborn inflation. According to the International Monetary Fund, global growth in 2025 is projected at around 3%, with many advanced economies still battling sluggish productivity and weak consumer confidence. Developing countries, including Nigeria, face rising debt burdens, currency pressures, and capital flow volatility. In the face of these realities, forward-looking nations are rethinking governance and business strategies, prioritizing resilience, innovation, and inclusivity. At home, our business environment reflects both challenges and promise. Over the past year, we have seen deliberate policy measures aimed at restoring macroeconomic stability through renewed fiscal discipline. While these policies are necessary, their immediate impact has been tough on businesses and households alike. Inflation has been declining, yet energy and food costs remain high, eroding consumer purchasing power and increasing the cost of doing business. The manufacturing and SME sectors, which are critical to job creation and inclusive growth, continue to face challenges related to infrastructure gaps, financing constraints, and policy inconsistency. However, there are bright spots. Ongoing investments in infrastructure, renewed confidence in the financial markets, and encouraging signals from technology, agriculture, and renewable energy sectors show that our nation's economy remains full of potential, if supported by the right policy alignment and governance discipline. This is why tonight's engagement is crucial. Our goal is to exchange ideas and strengthen partnerships that will enable enterprises to thrive and governance to deliver. The Chartered Institute of Directors believes that sustained collaboration between government and business is essential to building the inclusive and sustainable economy we all envision. Through corporate governance advocacy, director development, and policy engagement, CIOD Nigeria continues to promote leadership that is ethical, transparent, and accountable. We stand ready to work closely with policymakers, in ensuring that the voice of enterprise is heard in shaping national policy. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, the theme of this year's conference, Leading Through Change, Building Sustainable and Inclusive Enterprises, is a timely call to action. Leading through change requires courage, foresight, and shared responsibility. It challenges directors and policymakers alike to balance profit with purpose, growth with inclusion, and reform with stability. As we compete in the dynamic world, the future of our nation will depend on how effectively we manage these transitions from consumption to production and from dependence to competitiveness. I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate all our partners, sponsors, and members of the National Organizing Committee for their exceptional work in delivering another successful conference, including this grand finale, tonight's dinner. Most importantly, I extend deep gratitude to His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for his administration's support and collaboration extended to the Institute. We also acknowledge our honorable ministers, governors, business leaders, and members of the diplomatic corps for their unwavering commitment to Nigeria's growth agenda. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we share this evening, let us remember this core truth. Building enduring enterprises requires a shared covenant between leaders in business and public service. Let our conversation tonight not be a pleasant echo chamber, but the first step in a joint plan. Our mission is clear: to create an environment where governance inspires trust and enterprise delivers prosperity. That is the work of a resilient Nigeria. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind attention, and I wish you a pleasant and productive evening. Thank you very much.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to lead us in her capacity as chairman of this dinner, we're honored to have Lady Dr. Ada Chukwudozie, OON, the chairman of Keystone Bank. Yes, at this point, please let's applaud her. She is a foremost voice in Nigeria's manufacturing sector, a trailblazer in business and an advocate for women and community development. She embodies the strength of leadership that we celebrate here tonight. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lady Dr. Ada Chukwudozie, OON.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure that I've acquired the OON title yet. The special guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Bagudu, CON. Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Didi Esther Watson-Jack, OON MNI, ably represented by Mrs. Fatima. Ably represented by Mrs. Fatima Shukra Mahmood, the Permanent Secretary, Career Management Office. The President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria, Otumba Adetunji Oyebanji, FCIOD, and my senior colleague in the oil and gas industry. The first Vice President, Chartered Institute of Directors, my amiable sister, Mrs. Amina Oyebola, Fellow, CIOD. The second Vice President, Chartered Institute of Directors, Alhaji Lamis Diko, Fellow, CIOD. Distinguished past presidents of the Chartered Institute of Directors, members of the Governing Council, Chairman, National Organizing Committee for 2025 Annual Directors Conference, Otumba Bimbola Ashiru, MCIOD. Our erudite guest speaker, Professor Uche Joe Owaleke, and a member of Presidential Fiscal and Tax Reforms Committee. Members of the National Organizing Committee for the 2025 Annual Directors Conference. All government functionaries here present, DG of the Institute, Dr. Taiwo Nolas Alausa, MITD, fellows, members of the Institute, our headline sponsor, partner sponsor, esteemed sponsors, plenary speakers and discussants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen of the press, good evening to you all, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is both an honor and a privilege to chair this year's Government Meets Business Dinner, which is the closing highlight of the 2025 Annual Directors Conference. I want to sincerely thank the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria, for continuously nurturing credible and responsible leadership across the nation's boardrooms and institutions. But I also want to really commend the powerful team that put together this conference. I appreciate you all. You did a wonderful job. And to each of you, for the leadership, sacrifice, and collaboration you continue to offer in building enterprises that shape our nation's destiny. The theme of this year's conference, Leading Through Change, Building Sustainable and Inclusive Enterprises, could not be more timely, because we live in a world constantly reshaped by technology, shifting markets, and evolving social expectations. And so to lead through change is to understand that governance is not an event, it is a daily discipline, the unseen infrastructure that holds together every resilient enterprise, every stable economy, and every credible institution. Leadership today demands not only courage and vision, but also transparency, accountability, and inclusion. When we lead with these values, ideas become action, and action becomes progress. And this dinner symbolizes more than dialogue. It represents alignment, because when government and business sit together with shared intent and mutual respect, transformation becomes possible. We realize that public policy gains depth when it listens to enterprise. Same way, private enterprise gains scale when it aligns with national vision. That is how nations move from policies on paper to prosperity in practice. But it all begins with corporate governance, which is the foundation for sustainable enterprise. Having served across manufacturing, banking, and national advocacy, I've learned that governance is not merely a structure. It is a compass which defines how we lead, how we account, and how we build trust that endures. Adozi Group of Companies, where I serve as Executive Director, that compass guides how we conduct business with integrity, responsibility, and long-term vision. And also at Keystone Bank, the same compass underpins our partnership with our stakeholders, especially Central Bank of Nigeria, promoting inclusion not only for women, but also for micro, small, and cottage enterprises that form the backbone of our economy. Through initiatives that simplify access to credit and build capacity, we are proving that inclusive banking is not charity, it is smart economies. Earlier this month, at the Faculty of Physical Sciences Conference in Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University in Anambra State, we recognized and rewarded young scientists and girls in tech innovators. And this reminded us that inclusion is not just representation, it is empowerment. Opening the lab, the boardroom, and the marketplace to the next generation of thinkers and creators. Therefore, strong governance also depends on transparency, which is a lifeblood of trust between government, business, and citizens. Because when information is open and processes are predictable, confidence grows, speculation fades, and progress follows. A clear example is the Central Bank of Nigeria's new approach to the Naira exchange rate. By putting the right structures, allowing market signals to determine fair value, with greater clarity came stability and renewed investor confidence. That is what accountability looks like in practice. Not just enforcing rules, but creating systems that reward integrity and restore credibility. And within our own organizations, accountability must become a daily habit, aligning outcomes with purpose and ensuring that every decision reflects our duty to shareholders, employees, and society. As chairman of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria Southeast Zone, covering Anambra, Enugu, and Ebonyi states, I've seen the power of collaboration in action. That sustainability is not a slogan, it is a shared responsibility. Recently, some of my members launched a joint CSR project to plant bamboo trees in an erosion-prone community. It was a modest initiative, but one that held the soil together, created new livelihoods, and opened paths of carbon credit earnings and green enterprise. For the first time in decades, that community experienced a rainy season without the perennial flooding and erosion that had long scarred its landscape. Farmsteads, roads, homes, schools, and even ancestral sites were no longer under threat. We felt proud of an impact that was both local and lasting. Proof that sustainability can heal the land while empowering the people. That experience reaffirmed a truth that sustainability is not an expense, it is an investment in our environment, in our people, and in the long-term strength of our institutions. But can businesses do it alone? Of course not. Government clarity and policy consistency remain vital, because when policies are transparent and predictable, businesses can plan, innovate, and expand with confidence. And when business, in turn, upholds its end by paying taxes, creating jobs, protecting the environment, the society thrives. That, my friends, is the true essence of government meets business, not as parallel institutions, but as partners in building a nation that works. So as we dine and deliberate this evening, let us remember Governance is a bridge between policy and prosperity. When we connect governance, we connect growth, because prosperity is built on trust. Let us continue to build a Nigeria whose strength lies not only in its resources, but in the integrity of its leadership, in its accountability, and in its shared purpose. I thank you all for being part of this journey of leadership and renewal. And I once again commend the Institute for sustaining this invaluable platform. Thank you, and enjoy your evening.
Once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Lady Dr. Ada Chukwudozie, thank you so much, ma'am, for that speech. At the helm of Nigeria's civil service is a woman of reform, empathy, and grace. And I must say, good things, graceful women come out of FGGC Benin, known as FEDIBEN. And you can see it even in one of our moderators, Miss Ivana Osage. Miss Ivana Osage and Mrs. Didi Esther Walsinjak were classmates in FEDIBEN. And I must say, graceful women, so graceful women come out of FEDIBEN. And this person speaking was their baby in FEDIBEN as well. So please appreciate FEDIBEN for us. It's a night of laughter, of fun, please. You know, we're here to just have fun tonight. So known for strengthening institutions with both firmness and humanity, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Didi Esther Walsinjak, OON, MNI, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Career Management Office, Mrs. Fatima Sugra Mahmood. Let's welcome her for the address. Please keep clapping for her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm here yet again to represent the erudite scholar she is, a consummate administrator who has transcended from the state to the federal, holding various positions both as as a lawyer and also as an administrator. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation, the #1 civil servant in the country, Mrs. Didi Esther Walsinjak, OON, MNI. I love that MNI bit and I envy them the bit. So Uniben in the house, good evening. So it's going to be a very short one, and I would, with your permission, Mr. President, start on already established protocol. I think I established my protocol on day one. So, so not to bore you with all of that, so it is a distinct honor to join you this evening as the guest of honor in this elegant dinner, marking the close of what has truly been a remarkable and transformative conference. Over the past 2 days, we have witnessed a gathering of exceptional minds, people who not only manage institutions but shape the values and direction of leadership in our nation. The depth of reflection, the clarity of vision, and the unity of purpose evident here have affirmed our shared belief that leadership is, above all, a sacred trust, one that must be exercised with integrity, wisdom, and empathy. On behalf of the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Didi Esther Walsinjak, OON, MNI, I convey her warm felicitations to the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria, for its unwavering commitment to ethical leadership and good governance. The collaboration between the Institute and the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation is one that we deeply value and intend to strengthen in the years ahead. As we continue to transform the Federal Civil Service through the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2025, one of our most critical priorities is building leadership capacity at every level, cultivating public servants who think strategically, act ethically, and deliver results that improve lives. We therefore look forward to deepening our partnership with the CIOD to design joint capacity building programs, executive leadership development pathways, and knowledge exchanges that will strengthen the competence of civil servants to deliver for Nigeria. We believe that synergy between the corporate and public sector can yield a new leadership ethos for our nation, one that blends corporate discipline and public purpose, one that defines, or rather redefines, leadership as a service and governance as value creation. Tonight's dinner is therefore not just, this technology and its local problems. Tonight's dinner is therefore not just a closing ceremony, but a celebration of shared values, of resilience, integrity, and vision. Let us leave here reminded that the true measure of leadership is not the power we hold, but the legacy we build and the lives we uplift. Please accept the warm regards of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. Thank you, and may your evening be filled with renewed inspiration, meaningful connections, and quiet pride of those who lead with purpose. Thank you very much.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as business meets government this evening, it is only fitting that we are guided by a voice that sits right at the intersection of both worlds. Our guest speaker is not only Nigeria's first professor of capital market studies, but also a chartered accountant, banker, and stockbroker with a PhD in finance. He has served as Commissioner for Finance in Imo State, headed the Department of Banking and Finance at Nasarawa State University, and served as Chief Economist and Director of Research at the Security and Exchange Commission, Nigeria. Today, he is at the center of Nigeria's economic future as a member of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. An accomplished scholar, policy advisor, and thought leader, he brings to this dinner rare insights that link the boardroom, the marketplace, and the corridors of government. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Professor Uche Joe Uwaleke.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Yes, as I get set to do this, I am conscious of the fact that we are here for dinner. So I'm not going to stand between you and the dinner so it doesn't get cold. The President and Chairman of Council of this Noble Institute, Otumba Adetunji Oyebanji, the Chairman of the Planning Committee, Otumba Bimbola Ashuru, the Chairperson of the dinner, our delectable lady, Ada Chukwudozie. Permit me to, and of course the rep of the head of service, you're recognized, but permit me to rest on protocols already established. Distinguished members of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Directors, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from Taiwo Yedele, the chairperson of the Presidential Fiscal and Tax Reforms Committee. I'm sure many of you know that that committee has transited from Fiscal and Tax Reforms Committee to Fiscal and Tax Reforms Implementation Committee. So we are now at the implementation stage, having concluded the first phase of our work, our assignments. The president was asking me how many shares do I have as a professor of capital markets. I get, to be asked that question from time to time. People, when they hear you're a professor of capital market, that's a question they often ask. You must be a major, shareholder. You must have shares in many companies. But as a professor of capital markets, of course, professors are found around universities. And what do professors do? Basically three things. Professors teach, professors also research, and professors also engage in community service. So these are the three functions that we perform: teaching, research, and community service. So I'm a professor of capital markets on account of my years of teaching, on account of my publications, books, journal articles in the area of capital markets, and also on account of my community service. From time to time, you see me appear on TV, talk about capital markets, also do articles in national dailies. So that is my calling. And with respect to investments, of course, we don't also encourage people to just buy shares. I was asking somebody again who says he's a shareholder of many companies, and I asked him which of the companies. The person mentioned Zenith, GT, Fidelity, and so on. Just banking sector. So I also said that is not what we mean by investments. If you must invest, you try to do what? You diversify. So we emphasize portfolio, not just investing in particular sectors. So in your portfolio, you have shares, not only that of banking, you also have shares of other sectors in the economy, and also have money market securities, such as treasury bills, such as commercial paper, and so on. So all of that should make up your portfolio. That is what investment is all about. So I will quickly go through what I have here. I consider it an honor and a privilege to address this distinguished audience of accomplished business leaders and eminent public sector technocrats. I wish to express my profound appreciation to the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria for the kind invitation to deliver this keynote address at the 2025 Government Meets Business Dinner. This event, which brings together the nation's foremost business and policy minds, is a testament to the Institute's unwavering commitment to advancing corporate governance, ethical leadership, and sound management practice, ideals that remain fundamental to our national economic transformation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the theme of the year's conference, Leading Through Change, Building Sustainable and Inclusive Enterprises, is very timely. This has been mentioned here, but deeply relevant to the realities confronting Nigeria's business and economic landscape today. We live in an era, just for emphasis, marked by rapid technological disruption, geopolitical shifts, and the need to transform to low-carbon inclusive economy. For Nigerian enterprises, these changes represent both formidable challenges and unprecedented opportunities. In such a time, leadership cannot be about maintaining comfort zones. It must be about confronting hard choices and making deliberate shifts for long-term stability. Recognizing that structural imbalances and fiscal inefficiencies had long constrained the Nigerian economy, the current administration, at the outset, moved decisively to undertake bold reforms. I'm sure you followed the just concluded IMF World Bank meetings, where Nigeria stood out. Nigeria didn't just attend, but Nigeria stood out, in that meeting on account of the reforms. Nigeria received a lot of praise from the international community, again on the back of the reforms. We have witnessed in this country the removal of oil subsidy, the fuel subsidy. Everybody, agrees that that was necessary. The unification of exchange rates, which of course today has improved the transparency in the forex market. We've seen the convergence of the parallel and the official market rates. We've also seen the very bold reforms that have culminated in the new tax laws. Now, let me just mention a few of them, which we are all familiar with. First, today everybody agrees that the Naira has stabilized. So when we talk about macroeconomic stability today, you can point to the stability of the Naira. As a matter of fact, recently we've also seen even appreciation of the Naira. We've also seen moderation in inflation rate. The last inflation figure came in at 18.02%. Consistent decline in the last 6 months. And we expect that the disinflation will continue. We've also seen the inflows of capital that have resulted in current account surplus and also accretion to reserves. Today, the central bank tells us that external reserves in the region of $43 billion, enough to finance over 8 months of imports. So one can say that yes, we are beginning to see some level of macroeconomic stability, although just as the World Bank also rightly noted, that stability, the macro gains are yet to translate, are yet to trickle down to reflect on the lives of the common Nigerian, which of course we understand will be the next stage going forward. The first thing is to stabilize the economy, which everybody agrees has been done significantly. So these actions reflect leadership that understands that progress often begins with the courage to change direction. Yet leadership must bring along stakeholders, businesses, state actors, civil society in a shared vision. That is why this convening matters. It symbolizes the partnership between public and private sectors in responding to change. It goes without saying that Nigeria's economic growth trajectory has often been exclusive, not inclusive. We know the story. Even during the time this country was recording 6%, 7% GDP growth rate, that growth was never inclusive. How do you know an inclusive growth rate? It is one in which, for example, you also witness alongside reduction in poverty levels. But where GDP is growing and poverty levels are rising, that kind of growth rate is not inclusive. The last GDP growth figure we have from the National Bureau of Statistics, Q2 of 2025, is 4.23%. Recall that Q1 was 3.13%. Now GDP is growing, but at the same time, the World Bank is telling us that poverty is rising. People are, falling below the poverty line. And that is more because of the quality of the growth. We have not seen enough traction coming from the agri sector. Agri, for example. The agri sector contributes about 25% to GDP, and yet growing at less than 3%. For Q2, it came in at 2.88%. The manufacturing sector came in at less than 2% in Q2. So when the manufacturing sector and the agri sector are not growing strongly, you are not likely to have inclusive growth, because these are sectors that are more or less job elastic. These are sectors that employ a number of people. So that's also the challenge we have in the country, and I can also say that that challenge has been recognized, that there is need to ensure that the agri sector is paid a lot more attention. The same with the manufacturing sector. Because if we continue to rely on the services sector, the banks, for example, the telecom sector, to drive the economy, we may not really achieve inclusive growth. Unemployment rate may not drop, significantly. So here I say we see skyscrapers. At the same time, we also see sprawling slums. We celebrate billionaires, but also worry about millions of unemployed youth. This disconnect points to a fundamental gap, a gap between the intent of governance and the reality of business. So how do we bridge this gap? How do we, as leaders in both boardrooms and government chambers, build enterprises that are both sustainable and inclusive? I propose we focus on 3 pillars of synergistic leadership. Pillar 1, policy predictability. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the private sector's greatest need from government is not incentive alone, it is predictability. Businesses can plan for high and lows, but they cannot plan in a fog of policy inconsistency and regulatory uncertainty. The work of the Taiwo Oyedele-led Fiscal and Tax Reforms Committee, on which I serve, is fundamentally aimed at creating this predictable and equitable system. It's about moving from a culture of arbitrary enforcement to one of transparent rules. We shall come, I will return to this subject later, before I end. Pillar 2, governance as the bedrock of trust. The Institute of Directors has long championed this. Good corporate governance is the non-negotiable currency of trust. It is what attracts patient capital, both local and foreign. But this evening, I urge us to expand the definition to include a demand for public institutions to be as transparent, accountable, and effective as we expect our businesses to be. When a government contract is awarded fairly and executed diligently, that is good governance, building a sustainable enterprise. When a company pays its taxes correctly and refuses to pay bribes, that is good corporate citizenship, building an inclusive state. This is the synergy of integrity. Pillar 3, inclusive growth as a growth strategy. For too long, inclusion has been seen as a charitable afterthought or a corporate social responsibility project. We must reframe it as a core growth strategy. An enterprise that intentionally sources its materials locally, invests in the skills of its workforce, and designs products for the mass market is not just being socially responsible, it is building a more resilient and expansive business model. Similarly, government policies that prioritize mass literacy, digital skills, and healthcare are not just social expenditure, they are critical investments in the human capital that will power our industries tomorrow. Indeed, a healthy, educated populace is the most sustainable market and the most valuable asset any nation can have. Let me also say here that the work of the committee, what we did at the committee was not just about tax. It was also about quality of spending. We made recommendations with respect to spending. We made recommendations with respect to budget, government budget, and we also worked on public debt. Remember, it's Fiscal Policy Committee and tax reforms. It's just that what is coming to the fore is tax. But there are also recommendations there on how to improve quality of spending, on how to move spending more to particularly the human capital development areas, more to education, more to health, and even in agriculture. So these recommendations are there, and I'm sure that the government will also turn its attention to them as soon as the tax acts kick in from January 2026. Now, what is the role of government in building sustainable and inclusive enterprise? A few lessons from some countries. Maybe I will just refer you to them. this paper has been shared. When you get the paper, look at the case of Singapore so that I don't waste time on them. Look at the case of Singapore, the case of Rwanda. At least these, some of them I have had practical experience. I was on a study tour on Rwanda 2 weeks ago. Some of these countries too I've visited on study tours. You can also look at the case of Malaysia. So when you see the paper, go through the cases so I don't waste time on them. But what can we learn from these countries? The Nigerian imperative. The common thread in all these examples is clear. Governments that provide clarity, coordination, and credibility create the conditions for businesses to thrive sustainably. This administration's ongoing reforms, from tax reforms to infrastructure financing and MSME support, are steps in that direction. But success will depend on sustained collaboration between policymakers, regulators, and the business community. Government alone cannot drive sustainability. The private sector must be a proactive partner in reform implementation. Clearly, this year's conference theme resonates deeply with the work of our committee, where our task is to help fix a system that is broken, a system where the tax burden is often on the few who are compliant, where multiplicity of taxes stifles innovation, and where government revenue is insufficient to build the infrastructure and social services that enable businesses to thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know that in this country today, tax to GDP ratio is one of the least in sub-Saharan Africa. Tax to GDP ratio of 10%, 11%, one of the least in sub-Saharan Africa. And you also know that one of the major challenges facing businesses today is this multiplicity of taxes. Officially, we have over 60 taxes. Unofficially, as many as 200. So the work of the committee is to streamline these taxes, simplify them, so that the taxpayer, will. One of the principles of tax is simplicity, certainty. We learn this from school, and these are some of the things, canons, we also try to, build in the work that we did. So our work is focused on creating a simpler, fairer, and more efficient fiscal system, which shifts the focus from taxing production to taxing consumption. The president also made it clear that in this country, the focus should be on taxing fruits and not taxing seeds. From shifting from harassing MSMEs to nurturing them into the tax net through growth, and from a plethora of opaque levies to a transparent digital system. Let me now turn directly to these reforms in the fiscal space, and in particular the new tax laws, which are meant to support the very theme of this conference, building sustainable and inclusive enterprise. You will recall that on 26th of June this year, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assented to 4 key tax reform bills: the Nigerian Tax Act, the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, the Nigerian Revenue Service Act, and the Joint Revenue Board Act. Collectively, they represent a historic restructuring of Nigeria's tax architecture. Key elements of the new tax laws and their implications for businesses, I wish to highlight a few of them. 1, harmonization and simplification. Many legacy tax statutes. We had the company's income tax, personal income tax, VAT, petroleum income tax, myriads of them. What the tax law has done is to repeal them, consolidate them into a single modern status. Across federal, state, and local levels, the tax administration framework is being restructured to reduce multiplicity and duplication of levies. The Joint Revenue Board is designed to improve coordination across levels, harmonize revenue policies, and manage appeals and oversight. 2, enhanced incentives and reliefs for businesses. The exemption threshold for small companies has been raised. Companies with annual turnover of up to 100 million, up from 25 million, are now exempt from companies' income tax. Now, you are going to find, if you have read the laws, you are going to find that in the Nigerian Tax Act, what is there is 50 million. The threshold specified there is 50 million. The Nigerian Tax Administration Act, the threshold specified there is 100 million. So there appears to be a conflict. So one law is saying 50, another one is saying 100. But what the general thing, is this, and what you should bear in mind is this. Anytime there is conflict, appears to be conflict in the laws, the conflict is resolved in favor of the taxpayer. So we are still harmonizing the two, and that is why I can confidently tell you that the threshold is 100 million, not 50 million. The pioneer status incentive is replaced with an economic development incentive. Now we have a tax credit of 5% per annum for up to 5 years on qualifying capital expenditure that companies will enjoy. The Act also expands the zero rating of VAT to more essential goods. Currently, food items are exempt from VAT. But what the Act has done is, instead of saying they're exempt, the Act has placed them as zero rated. So there's a difference between zero rating and exempt status. So zero rating status is better because it will enable the firm to recover input VAT, unlike the exempt status where input VATs are not recoverable. So the input VAT recovery rules are now modernized. Businesses may now claim input VAT, unlike before, on fixed assets and services where previous rules limited them. Again, we know about the Tax Ombudsman Office. Today, if somebody comes to harass you, lock up your shop, that you have not paid tax, you have nowhere to run to. But the law has now made provision for a Tax Ombudsman Office, established to settle disputes, complaints, and grievances. So taxpayers can always approach the tax ombuds where such happens. Fiscalization rules and mandatory invoicing have been codified to ensure traceability, auditability, and real-time reporting. We also have the new Nigerian Revenue Service, which replaces the FIRS with more autonomy, efficiency focus, and digital integration. There are others too, I may not bore you with. Global alignment and equity, minimum effective tax rate of 15% now applies to large multinationals. And then tax avoidance regulations are also in place to ensure that multinationals operating in Nigeria don't cheat us through either profit shifting, transfer pricing, and so on. So we have control CFC rules, control of foreign company rules that are in place to ensure that what should come to Nigeria, actually comes to Nigeria. I know some of us are already salivating, so let me conclude. Okay, so in conclusion, but when you get the paper, try and go through it. In conclusion, our economic landscape is in a constant state of flux, shaped by global oil prices, geopolitical shifts, and so on. But the critical question we must ask ourselves is this: are we leading through change, or are we merely being swept along by it? The examples of Singapore and Rwanda show that transformation is possible when leadership, institutions, and enterprise pull in the same direction. Nigeria can and will achieve the same if we persist with discipline, trust, and partnership. As directors, You are the custodians of corporate strategy and governance. I urge you to use your influential positions to be ambassadors of the current administration's reforms, including championing tax compliance within your organizations and engaging with policymakers constructively. Always regard the tax and other reforms as top priority board agenda, not back office function. To this end, endeavor to obtain regular updates and monitor implementation. As a first step, seek to understand them very well to be in a position to provide the much needed leadership. You, as I said, let me repeat, seek to understand these tax laws and what they imply. When you read a lot of misrepresentations, except you understand them, you may not be in a position to tell somebody that what they're saying is not correct. The whole idea behind the tax reforms, as I said, is to protect the vulnerable, to encourage businesses, and so on. It's not about raising money per se. That's not the objective. Let me leave you with this final thought. The title of the dinner is Government Meets Business. I hope that this is not just a meeting, but a marriage, one built on a shared purpose. A Nigeria that works for all, where leading through change means creating a tide that lifts all boats, where our enterprises are sustainable because they are inclusive, and inclusive because they are sustainable. Once again, Mr. President, my dear President, I thank the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria, for this honor and for its continuous efforts in shaping visionary leadership across sectors in Nigeria. Long live the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Prof, I'm going to ask that you please stay on the stage while I invite on stage the President and Chairman of Council, Otunbade Tunji-Oyebanji, FCIOD, our first Vice President, Mrs. Amina Oyagbola, FCIOD, our second Vice President, Alhaji Diko, FCIOD, Chairman 2025 ADC National Organizing Committee, Otumba Bimbola Ashiru, if he's in the hall, and of course our DG CEO, Dr. Taiwo Nola Salausa. And you would have heard several times a reference to a paper. Let me say that the Institute will ensure that the delegates have access to this paper that has been so widely referred to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof, for such an insightful paper. I wish I had known the Prof maybe about 40-something years ago. I was a young graduate, just finished youth service, and I got invited to then Nigerian International Bank, Citibank, when it was just starting in Nigeria. So, hot with a degree in economics, I thought I was the tough guy. So I attended the interview, and the American guy who was doing the interview, I was answering questions, and I was just saying financial instruments, before he asked one question. The man now said at some point, please tell me what is financial. Of course, I had no idea. So I wish I had known Prof. He would have schooled me properly. Anyway, we also, when you started, by the way, you dodged my question about how many shares. You just used the... So we also would like to send greetings to Taiwo Oyedele. I don't know whether you know, but about a month ago, we honored him in the Institute with the honorary fellowship. So the work that himself and the committee did is very significant in Nigeria's history in terms of tax reform. So please extend our greetings to him again. So, on behalf of the Governing Council, fellows members of the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria, this is a plaque to commemorate your presence and role as guest speaker at our 2025 Business Meets Government dinner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next person.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite on stage the Chairman, Keystone Bank Limited, Lady Ada Chukwudozie. Can we please give her a round of applause?
Good evening, our chairman. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for giving me this privilege and honor to appreciate Lady Ada Chukwudozie, the chairman of Keystone Bank and chairman of this very special Business Meets Dinner event being hosted by the Chartered Institute of Directors. Thank you so much for your remarks. You know, they were spot on. They were very insightful. And we've all taken, you know, the key messages away. Thank you very much for being here and for chairing this occasion. Here's a token of our appreciation. Thank you. Very much.
It is with an immense sense of honor and a heart full of gratitude that I rise to deliver this vote of thanks on behalf of the Governing Council and the entire secretariat of our esteemed institute. These past 2 days have been nothing short of inspirational. We have convened a constellation of Nigeria's finest minds, thought leaders, corporate titans, policymakers, and innovators, all aligned in a common purpose to champion the cause of exemplary corporate governance and ignite the ages of our national progress. This conference has transited mere dialogue. It has served as a powerful crucible for forging a renewed commitment to ethical leadership, resilient enterprise, and transformative accountability. A pivotal highlight of our gathering was the Business Meets Government dinner. At the CIOD, we believe that the destiny of our nation is forged at the intersection of sound policy and enterprise, and thankfully this forum has provided an opportunity for candid insights on bridging the corridors of power with the ages of commerce. Such dialogue is not merely beneficial, it is essential for aligning national strategy with market realities, fostering the mutual understanding required to unlock investments, stimulate growth, and build a truly competitive economy for all Nigerians. Our heartfelt thanks are extended to the distinguished figures who graced our government meets dinner. Mrs. Zidi Esther Wasin-Jack, ONMNI, ably represented by Mrs. Fatima Shugra Mahmood, Permanent Secretary, Career Management Office. Our astute dinner chairperson, Lady Dr. Ada Chukwudozie, FCIOD, and our incisive guest speaker, Professor Uche Ijowu-Aleke. Your collective wisdom transformed the evening into an unparalleled platform for candid dialogue, bridging the public and private sectors in a spirit of collaboration essential for our nation's economic renaissance. To our President and Chairman of the Governing Council, your excellent leadership and support at all times has ensured that this 2025 NAD Directors Conference became an immense success. The appreciation tonight will not be complete without acknowledging the valuable backing of our past presidents and the Governing Council. We sincerely appreciate you. To the entire cadre of distinguished speakers, moderators, and discussants, we salute you. You endured our sessions with intellectual rigor, practical expertise, and a wealth of experience that profoundly enriched our collective understanding. To our invaluable sponsors and partners, we declare our enduring gratitude. Your steadfast belief in our mission and your generous support form the very bedrock upon which the success of this conference was built. This partnership is a testament to our shared commitment to nation building. We pay special tribute to the 2025 Annual Directors Conference National Organizing Committee under the exemplary leadership of Otumba Abimbola Shiru, MCIOD, our very own. Otumba, we are not leaving you alone. We have to do this again. And to the team too, to the National Organizing Committee, we really thank you. We must do this again. Your meticulous planning, creative vision, and indefatigable dedication have once again delivered a conference of the highest caliber, proudly upholding the Institute's legacy of excellence. To my dedicated colleagues at the CLD Secretariat and the Management Planning Committee, I extend a most sincere commendation. Your professionalism, tireless effort, and impeccable teamwork were the invisible engine that powered this event, ensuring every detail reflected the prestige and standards of our noble institute. And finally, to the very heart of our institute, our esteemed fellows, members, and friends, both here in this hall and joining us from across the globe, we thank you. Your vibrant engagement, insightful contributions, and steadfast faith are the propelling force behind our endeavors. Together, we are not just an institute, we are a growing community of responsible leaders dedicated to shaping a more transparent, resilient, and prosperous Nigeria. As the country draws on the 2025 National Directors Conference, let us carry forward the connections forged, the ideas sparked, and the commitments affirmed within these walls. May they serve as a guiding light for our actions and our enduring inspiration for our leadership in the days and years to come. On behalf of the President and the entire Governing Council, I thank you all once again for your esteemed presence and for making this landmark event a resounding success. God bless you all. God bless the Charter Institute of Directors Nigeria. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
And we want to once again thank our sponsors, First Bank, Boa Group, Keystone Bank, Oando, Stanbic IBTC, Odua Investment Company Limited, Zenith Bank, Oilserve, Lafarge, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, Mass Life Healthcare, Punch Newspapers, Business Day, News Central, Nigerian News Direct, Rapid TV, Love FM Abuja, and Unilever. Can we please appreciate all of our sponsors? Without them, this conference would not have been. So we thank them again and again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, what is a dinner without a dance? I'm sure after eating, some of us want to shake out our bodies, especially the calories that we've piled up. So now, we will be having dance, dance, dance till done. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Police band, give us danceable tunes. Thank you. Okay, and ABN Quest, one of our sponsors as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.